Listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Missing girl found, but mystery abounds. Good morning, it's John King filling in for Peter Christian. Missoula police found a missing 17-year-old girl yesterday after a long search that resulted from a distressed phone call in which police say a woman claimed she was being held at gunpoint. That call was made early Wednesday from an apartment complex on Milwaukee Way in Missoula. According to Missoula Police Public Information Officer Travis Welsh, police acted on a tip that was called in and located Lacey Moore at a hotel in the 3800 block of Brook Street. Welsh says the teen was hungry but in good health. There are a lot of confusing elements to this story. On Wednesday morning, police were searching for 3 vehicles and a man who was seen on foot with a gun. They also say a spent shell casing was found at the scene. At least 2 of those vehicles have been tracked down and 2 individuals have been brought in for questioning, but there have been no arrests. Now police say the man with the gun got into a 4th car and fled the scene. That suspect is described as a white male 6 feet tall, wearing a gray short-sleeved t-shirt and a black bandana with some shaggy brown hair. That suspect is presumed to be still at large. The Missoula Independent newspaper is no longer on its own. The local paper was bought up yesterday. Publisher and president of the Independent, Matt Gibson, explains.
Movie Enterprises is the owner of the Independent, and they've rehired the entire staff in their current positions at their current wages. It's business as usual, basically. All the services and content and the style and personality that people are accustomed to, it should be the same moving forward.
Lee Enterprises is a big player in the Montana newspaper biz. It also owns the Independent's competitor, or former competitor, the Missoulian, as well as daily papers in Butte, Ravalli County, Billings, and Helena. Gibson was asked if ownership by an outside source would challenge the paper's independent nature.
We had a little internal discussion about that as well. I would hope that when people talk about independent journalism, they're talking about the character and quality of the journalism, that it's smart and courageous, mischievous, and not beholden to interests beyond the truth and the integrity of the reporter. And, that doesn't change.
Some of the main staff members at the Independent found out about the change just on Wednesday. Gibson says the new injection of funds into the Missoula Independent will help the paper and that, quote, the Missoulian and the Independent will be much stronger working in cooperation than competition, end quote. Authorities say a man wanted in Montana has been arrested in Arizona. Cottonwood Police and the U.S. Marshals Service took 39-year-old Chad Williams into custody Thursday afternoon. They say he has a $1 million warrant out for his arrest for attempted murder. Williams was involved in a standoff with a SWAT team in Missoula last June. Cottonwood police say they were alerted that Williams may be in the area in an older model motorhome with expired California plates. A detective found that vehicle parked near a church. The city of Missoula has begun attempts to annex the Missoula International Airport. According to Airport Director Chris Jensen, discussions of the city assuming the property began on Monday, and annexation appears likely if the city wants to press ahead.
Our first formal meeting to discuss it was just this week. I will tell you, back in 1985, the airport signed an agreement with the city when the city began to provide sewer services to the airport, and that agreement stated that when the city was ready to annex the airport, that the airport wouldn't contest it. So, long before my time, that agreement was made.
If the city annexes the property, taxes currently paid to Missoula County would be redirected to city coffers. Because the airport has its own fire, police, and maintenance personnel, the city would not have to extend those services to the airport. Even things like potholes would continue to be handled by the airport.
When you have an aircraft that's landing at 120 miles an hour, potholes are totally unacceptable. We're responsible for all pavement out here, so not just the runways and taxiways, but all of our own roadway system, too. We would love the city to come out and plow our roads and fix our potholes, but we have our own public works department, and the city has no desire to take that on. They're already stretched in maintaining their own streets.
Jensen says there is one big complication. The airport is currently in a Missoula County tax increment financing district, and because of that, Jensen expects that no annexation will occur until July of 2018. If Missoula does annex, the airport will have to adopt their remodel efforts to conform with Missoula building codes and regulations. A fossil found by an elk hunter in Montana nearly 7 years ago has led to the discovery of a new species of a prehistoric sea creature. The new species of Elasmosaur is detailed in an article published Thursday in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology. The creature lived about 70 million years ago in the inland sea that flowed east of the Rocky Mountains from Canada, they say. One of the article's authors is University of Alaska Museum of the North paleontologist Patrick Druckenmiller. He says the sea reptile he excavated has a distinctive neck that's much smaller than those of other elasmosaurs, which can stretch up to 18 feet. Finally, the Montana Department of Justice has been able to get a Montana employee to admit he's guilty of worker compensation fraud. Montana Department of Justice spokesman Eric Sell explains.
David Hauk of Big Fork pled guilty in district court to a criminal theft charge for fraudulently collecting over $27,000 in workers' compensation benefits from the Montana State Fund. We're really happy because really it's businesses that bear the cost when you have individuals fraudulently collecting workers' compensation benefits, because it's Montana businesses who are paying the premiums on workers' compensation insurance.
Charges were brought after a concerned citizen noticed something was a little off.
There was an anonymous tip to the Montana State Fund back in 2014 that Hauk was working on the side and playing a lot of golf. So the Montana State Fund looked into that, and they found sufficient evidence to refer that to the Montana Department of Justice.
Sell told me that the attorney that works with those types of cases deals with about 20 worker compensation fraud cases every year in Montana.